Uh, it's my session now. So just take a quick round of introduction. I am CEO of Data Labs India and another of company fruiStrategy. So today we talk about fruiStrategy. fruiStrategy is helps organizations to implement their strategies, the plan, they formulate and execute their strategies. We talk more about it. See, today I'm talking about specific topic. I don't want to talk any general open topic. Small, very focused topic. I'll share my screen. Okay. So let me share my screen if you are able to see it. Yeah, I hope you are able to see it. Just confirm, Jyoti, if you say yes, because I cannot. Okay. Are you able to see it, Jyoti? If you are able to hear me, just confirm so that I can take it up because I cannot see myself. Mhm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are able to see your screen, sir.
Thank you, because I'm not able to see myself.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so today we are talking about something specific. Okay, something specific, that strategy in the era of AI. Okay, so we are talking about annual planning to continuous intelligence. This is the topic. So very subtopic in the strategy management. So redesigning the strategy analysis, formulation, and execution for adaptive enterprises. This is the topic what we talk about today. Okay, very quick introduction from my side. CEO of Data Labs India and fruiStrategy. So my experience goes into strategy management, manufacturing excellence, and supply chain excellence. Okay, so I have some certifications to my credit and continuous learner. So I am the solution architect for frusi, a supply chain excellence suite, and fruiStrategy. If anybody wants to reach me, just we have a contact number there. Please do that. Okay. So now let's go to the important topic. Okay. So why strategy management is under pressure? Okay, it's a because of the AI. So it's very interesting. Many we have to listen many points. All are valid. Okay, I am talking about very few focused area where this will help the strategy managers and then the senior leaders. Traditionally, if you see, the strategy models are designed for stable markets, predictable demand, okay, annual budgeting cycles, limited data availability. So this is the usually traditional strategy models. So annual strategy cycle is very important with the current. I cannot say it's a legacy; it's a current. Okay. So now what is happening with the AI? Complete change of thought process is happening now. The reality is, so volatile supply chains, real-time consumer shifts, margin compression, technology disruption, and AI-enabled competitors. Now, this because of this, you need to change. Okay, so how do you change? That's a question. So traditional strategy to AI-driven strategy. So we are talking specifically about reviews, the strategy formulation cycles and all. So I'm not talking about in general strategy kind of thing, so that it will be very easy to understand. So it is going from periodic process to a continuous process. This is the number one change. So it's a reactive instead of going from reactive mode to predictive mode. Okay. So lagging KPIs to leading indicators. So you do that. So manual analysis to AI augmented intelligence. We will talk about this when you go out. Static capital allocation to dynamic reprioritization. Okay. So this is something very major change in the structural change in the strategy management. Okay. So strategy is becoming a more intelligent system. So that's the whole idea. So before we talk about more about how the AI is deployed, I'll just talk top maybe three most popular or more popular methodologies. So I start usually my preferred approach is to start with the methodology. So the screen what we see is the execution premium approach. We call it as a balanced scorecard approach for the strategy management. So it has a framework to help you. Like first you do the strategy analysis where you do the external analysis, internal analysis, and do some scenario plannings and all. Then you formulate your strategies. Okay, so you close that gap from the strategy by strategy analysis, whatever you find in external, internal, and other things. So you formulate your strategies. So in formulation of strategy, what does that exactly mean is you come up with a value proposition to give you to serve your customer. So that's a business. Okay, so to give that to deliver that value proposition to your customer, you need capabilities. So closing that capability is your strategy management actually. Okay, so that's how it is. Okay, now the strategy cannot be understood just like that by everybody. So you need to translate strategy. Then you need to align the whole organization. So what do you, I'll just take one step back. Translate strategy means you need to have a proper cascading of your the whole strategy, which is meaningful for everybody in the organization. Okay, so that you could use the balance scorecard, you could use the objectives, measures, targets, kind of thing that we will talk about more as we go on. So aligning the organization means, see, organization means a set of business processes performed by people through systems. Okay, so and there are operations and projects. So all these things need to be aligned to deliver your strategy. So you get the desired business results what you want. So aligning the organization is very critical. The planning of the operation for a cycle, so this is very tricky part. It's a yearly planning, monthly planning, quarterly planning, weekly planning, daily planning. There is a tremendous planning process goes on in the organization, and you do the execution like operations and projects. Then monitor and learn. So every you need to reviews like operational reviews and strategy reviews. The operational reviews could be daily, weekly, monthly. Strategy reviews could be monthly, quarterly, and yearly kind of thing. Test and adopt. So what happens is whatever strategy is working and whatever is not working, you review it and do it. And this whole usually this cycle is a yearly process. Like you test and adopt is a yearly once you do it. But because of the AI, so there is a tremendous change in the adoption. The steps does not change, but adoptions change. So there is another approach called OKRs, even though it is not really a strategy execution solution, but it's very popular. Many people use it. It helps you to create a focus on a particular objective, and then try to achieve that results. If that objective is really helping your strategy, fine. If it is not, then it will have a problem. So you identify. I mean, it's a OKR is basically a prioritization. So if you want to do something, you focus on one objective and then achieve it. Okay, and you don't have to focus on everything else. Okay, all the regular activities you don't have to focus. That's what OKR is methodology says. Then there is something called Hoshin country. So basically in operational, some basically in manufacturing organizations, okay, adopt very heavily. It is more or less similar to balance scorecard approach, but the way they define initiatives and measures and objectives is a little different. Okay, so all there are multiple methods like play to win kind of thing. There are in if you take up everything together, if you put it in a very simple manner, so we can classify them as strategy analysis, formulate strategy, align the organization, and execute strategy, and then witness the transformation. This is usually done. Now we would like to see how does that happens in each stage of the strategy. Okay, so in strategy analysis, what happens is traditional approach is external and internal analysis, annual review cycles, manual data preparation. So this is very important. Uh, this is an important step what we used to do it. Now the limitation is historical view, lagging indicators, static assumptions. So when we do classical strategy analysis, so there are some set of indicators and assumptions which we document it properly and then do everything else. Now with AI enabled, so you can sense market very in a dynamic way. So you can monitor competitor activities in a very dynamic way, and you can get the details. Cost volatility detection, so you can find in a real time intelligence. So performance drift alerts and risk probability. So all these things can be done through AI now very easily. So this is a big change. Okay, so this is a big change. So the new capability is a strategic radar system. Okay, now with this new strength, so the your traditional strategy analysis will be optimized. So this is one major change in one of the first step of strategy analysis. Then when you go to strategy formulation, so the big change is, so when you, in the traditional strategy formulation, by far this is most non-standard process in the entire business operations, I can say. So strategy formulation is everybody do their own way, but in general, what they do is you identify you arrive at the value proposition, and then this value proposition is executed. To deliver this value proposition, you need capabilities. To close the capability gap, you come up with a strategy plan. So that's in general the term. Okay. So basically, in the strategy formulation, what it happens is, okay, so it's a leadership workshops. So 3 to 5 years plans in general, strategic themes and initiatives, and financial projections. So as an outcome of strategy formulation, one of the outcome is the strategy projections. Now, what is the challenge is, so limited scenarios. So you cannot have a manually when you do it. You have a very limited scenarios, cognitive bias, underestimated risks, so weak operational linkages. All there are some challenges in the strategy formulation. Now, AI augmented, so what AI supports completely different is from opinion led to so simulation and tested strategy. So this is where, so AI supports multi-scenario planning. Okay, so growth pathways simulation. So you can do simulation in multiple things, not necessary in one direction. There are multiple things. Portfolios, you can test portfolios, risk adjusted impact modeling, and stress testing. All these are possible because of the AI adoption. Okay, so this is a direction which is going for the continuous planning process. So when you talk about strategy translation, so when you have a strategy, for when you formulate strategy, the next step is, so you have a strategy, you identify key strategic objectives. Of course, it is a part of strategy formulation processes. Then you identify measures for that, KPIs, and then to close the gaps, you do the initiatives. This is classical strategy translation process. So there is a problem in this. So we have a themes defined, KPIs assigned, targets, initiatives. So problems, KPI conflicts. Okay, so misaligned targets, resource overload, and disconnected initiatives. So without AI, so with the traditionally, there the KPIs you have defined, sometimes it gets conflicts. Okay, even you usually we identify some conflicts and resolve them, but there are something which we don't know. Okay, when we define all the KPIs and all, there are some things which is beyond the people who do the strategy formulation and all. Sometimes there is something missed. With AI, what happens is you do that very well. KPI coherence, validation. Okay, so impact scoring, conflict detection, the alignment scoring, and feasibility prediction. So new strategy coherence. Okay, so it's a very coherent way you can do with AI. So current whatever strategy processes you are doing it, you can do it in a more or less unorganized way. Okay, so alignment in organization. Okay, organization alignment as part of strategy execution. Strategy execution. So this is here you align business processes, people, projects, systems, risks, and structure to the strategy. So here what happens is, in traditionally the organizational element has a problem. So like when you do organizational element, there is a communications and campaigns you do, department targets, incentives, performance reviews can. So what is the limitation? So misaligned incentives can create a bigger problem. Strategy fatigue, okay, low visibility. There are some alignment problems in the organizations where first of all, properly aligning the organization itself a big problem, and then you have limitations on top of it. Now AI is democratize the strategy process, and especially the organizational alignment. You do that. So like track initiatives and KPI alignment, so detect resource conflicts, and then monitor capacity overloads and analyze variance patterns. For example, okay, so when I have I'll show some real-time scenario where through strategy you do that. So you have a data. So what is working properly and what is not working properly? What is the performance? All those. Then AI can help you to read all that and give you some interconnected insights where which otherwise it's very hard to identify. So that is something which AI can do it in a decent way. So in strategy execution, basically strategy execution is doing uh, your operations and projects in a more successful way. Okay. So in the performance management, basically what happens in the strategy management I'm talking about. So it's a monthly reviews. Okay, so reports, monthly reports, you submit them for the review. So manual actions. So what are the actions we need to do as part of strategy? Okay, corrections. So after 1 month, when you do the strategy review, you identify the actions, you correct it. So this is usually a practice in strategy management, a monthly process. It could be quarterly reviews. So by the time deviation is visible, maybe damage is already done. So this is something a problem with the current strategy models. So AI will help you to do this. So AI can early deviation alerts. So whenever there is a change, and since AI has access to the data, so it can detect the deviations. You don't have to wait 1 month, as simple as that. And then, and it can do the course correction even for the strategy also. So this creates a bigger. There is a big level difference of strategy and operations, and this the difference will be closed because of the AI. So strategy management can also be managed more or like operations, given the capability of AI to do that. Okay, so you can have a root cause analysis, KPI forecasting, initiative risk scoring. By the way, all these things are already in progress. So through strategy, we are already adopting all these things for our customers. Okay, so in the strategy refresh, when you do the strategy refresh mechanism, okay, so it's like annual review, okay, budget reset, revised targets, new initiatives. So it's when you do, like especially in the month of, if your calendar month is your calendar month is January to December, usually it start in August, September. If your calendar month is April to March, usually it start in December. Okay, so it's a basically reactive approach. So continuous strategy refresh. You don't have to wait until the end of the year to do the strategy refresh. You can do it at any point of time. So like rolling forecast kind of thing. So AI enables you to assumptions tracking. So the assumptions you made can be tracked. So ROI attribution, real-time risk updates. So you don't have to wait until you validate them. So capital reallocations and adaptive prioritization. These are the things which is possible due to strategy refresh. So new to strategy architecture is AI-driven strategy includes continuous intelligence, simulation-based design, coherence engine, predictive monitoring, and closed-loop learning. So this is a new strategy architecture. But here, so human versus AI in strategy management is what AI can do and what human have to do it. For example, so AI handles complexity, the prediction part, the simulation and optimization. The humans will do the vision, the organization vision, what is required, the purpose, the risk appetite, ethics. All those things have to be done by the people. The final message is the strategy is moving from annual planning to continuous intelligence, the strategic roadmaps to adaptive systems. Okay, so reactive to predictive control. Is your organization ready? That's a question. Okay, so I would like to tell you something about this. Okay, so this is my final slide, but I'll show you something else. I'll stop screen share. Okay, uh, Discord. Okay, so maybe I'll stop screen share. I'll stop screen share. Yeah. Okay. I'll share screen a little, but we'll talk more about that. Okay. So basically, what happens is, to just to make it very simple, you have your measures or KPIs. Okay, so what we do in the strategy reviews basically is you have your strategy process with the KPIs. So what happened for last quarter, and then you see the performance, and then what could happen in the next quarter, kind of thing. So now with the AI, what happens is you have actual data of KPIs, you have a target. Now what we are thinking is you have another projected. So you have a target, actual and projected. Earlier, doing this projection is very complicated. Not, it's not really possible to do it. Okay, but not for all KPIs at least. But with AI, that can be done. So you can get an idea, and if you want to do any course correction in future, it can be highlighted now itself along with the reasons. Okay, so this is something which is very encouraging now to do that. The second thing is, in the projects, you don't have to wait for the project review meeting, kind of thing. It can be continuously updated, and same thing with the risks, and also and other part of the programs. So you can do that. Okay, uh, and there are multiple things in strategy management. This could be quite possible, especially when you have strategy reviews. So you have actions to be taken. The main point in the strategy review is, are we on track? Are we out of track? If you are on track, what is going on well and what is not going on well? Okay, how can you improve what is going on well, and how to manage what is not going well. So now you have actions. So what are the actions to be taken? Okay, so for the course corrections, so this is what happen when we do that. This is what we do. So to course corrections. Now the beauty of AI is, so since AI has access to all the historical data, so all the strategic objectives, okay, and then maybe there is some inputs for other things also. So this is, you can predict. Okay, so it can give you AI generated actions. You take it or not, you can leave that, by the way. So you can take it like a AI driven actions. Okay, now at least AI driven performance analysis. Okay, so you have something by default in the plate. So managers cannot be now say, okay, we come there to the review meetings and we present our case. No, there is somebody is there who is more intelligent and he knows everything, AI. So that can do that. I will show you something now in the screen. Maybe I'll share my screen again. Stop screen sharing. I'll just share screen entire. Okay, I'll share my screen once again. If you are able to see my screen, okay. Just correct me, Joshna, if you, sorry, yeah, Jyoti, if you
Yes,
just,
sir. Yes, sir. We are able to see your screen, sir.
yeah, I'll just show a system.
Yeah, so please log in.
Okay, so when you do a system, I'll just tell how the AI will do the major change. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the whole system. So when you talk about balance scorecard or whatever, so you have measures like performance when you talk about. Okay, so let me show something. For example, you have a floor mill division. Mhm. Let us say improve product quality. Okay, I don't know. Okay, something like that. Or maybe I'll just see enhance customer. Okay, I want to get something which is very easy to uh, remember. Okay, maybe I'll see March 1 last year. One second, I'll just show you something. Increase production efficiency. I'm unable to see some comments, but anyways, okay. So what happens is basically, so when we have a KPI in place, actuals, and then you have target, you have performance, you have status poor or whatever, you have a trend kind of thing, and then there is something called performance insights and recommended actions. You usually do that. Okay, so each owner will do that. Okay, so what happens is AI will automatically add its part. Okay, and then it will give you the leverage for the future. So how to do that? Okay, so I'll just cancel it. So likewise, so there is a fantastic way to measure. And then when you have uh, okay, so measure story. So when you have something like that, actual targets of the performance, there could be, see here in this graph for 2026 or whatever you take it. So you have like a Jan, February, March data. Okay, so you don't have data for whatever. So you can have projected data very easily. And then you can also find actions for that. I'll show you something very simple and very easy to understand. I don't want to, this is not a product demo, I just want to show you for, okay. So this is something like the balance scorecard or scorecard, whatever you call it. So likewise, if you see measure targets actuals, then you can add more points like this. See here, you see the actions, analysis, and recommended actions. When I put here, you see it. So these things can be generated by AI. Okay, so we have already done that. So there could be multiple levels of your KPIs. So this AI will give you fantastic insights what you do it. Like when you talk about AI Explorer. So mhm, okay. So there is a lot of like you can do the interviews properly whenever you have done. You can conduct multiple interviews without adding a lot of value. So this is one thing where we can do that. So if you want to do so, start an interview, okay, so you can create a video. So if you want to do any interview in the organization, now what you can do is you can just give a link for the key people so they can answer it audio voice. The system can do the whole assessment of the things of the inputs. It will give you the sentiment, and also it will give you how the organization is behaving for your strategy. Likewise, it's very simple, very faster. Earlier, it was not possible. You have to do it manually. This AI is doing a tremendous things. Like when you do the strategy analysis, for example, so when you want to do a pestle analysis, I'll just show you a very simple thing. Now, all what we need to do is you need to give the information. When you do the when you generate, it will write the prompt for you, and then you can choose whatever the models you want to use, whether it could be DeepSeek or Gemini or whatever, over ChatGPT or whatever. Then prompt also can be converted, so it will look like this. Okay, so it looks like this. So this is generated by AI. Okay, so you have an organization year version, so it will give you complete definition of pestle analysis early, and it is very close to what you think. I mean, like 70-80% it will give you. Of course, you can also add some additional other considerations and additional files if you want to do it. Okay, so with that, what happens is you have a very fantastic way to do the strategy analysis. So likewise, you can do a strategy analysis part. So you can have a performance reviews from you can do the performance reviews from strategy analysis. You can also use adopter methodologies like play to win kind of thing. So you can do that. AI plays a major role. Most of the information is available in the public domain. You take it and then give some files, and then it will help you to do the strategy analysis. Okay, likewise strategy formulation part. So now there is something called strategy storytelling. So you can also use the AI for all the strategy analysis, all the documents. So you need to create stories to communicate to the people to make an impact. Okay, so now if you are doing something, it's not easy to communicate. So you need to sit an expert to prepare strategies the stories and communicate. Now, with the system availability, it can be done very easily. So it will give you the narrative of the story. Then you can try with that. You can try and then modify whatever you want like to do that. And then you can also knowledge management. Now, knowledge management is one area where in the strategy, as a part of strategy, so there are so many documents kind of thing, you store it. Of course, knowledge management is not about repository of document, it's a process. Okay. But here, you can ask a question from the knowledge management point. So you just ask a question and system will help you to get an answer. Now there are thousand documents, thousand books, previous history, strategic documents. You just ask a question proper, yeah, then you get them. Okay. Then one of the most important this, you can have a data architecture also. So if you have a multiple data sets in place, so you can do that. So I think overall, what I'm trying to say here is, let me go back to the screen. Let me go back. Okay, sorry. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is AI is helping organizations to do a proper strategy, a proper adoption in the strategy management. Okay. And it's, of course, it is doing everywhere else, but in the strategy management also, the main thing is it is not a periodic thing, it's a continuous planning. I think that's the main area where I think we have a session at what time, Jyoti, next? Is at 6 o'clock. So we have few more minutes. Okay. So if you have any questions, please post it. So I will be very happy to answer. So let me see if there is any questions. Like a demand and production planning, improve forecast accuracy 20-30%, helping balance demand and supply inventory process, real time analysis. You're right. See, when we do, I'll just take a couple of minutes here. So earlier, there is something called strategy planning, and then we have a business planning and budgeting, sales and operations planning, and then the rest of the operational planning goes. Now, because of AI, what is happening is the gap between strategy planning, sales and operations planning, and then your production scheduling or MPS or whatever you call it. So those gap is getting reduced. Now, so that is the good news for all the strategy leaders. Okay, so I'm basically a supply chain and manufacturing professional. And also I do a very nice strategy uh, execution things. So I know, so this gap has been closed by strategy analysis. So very in a very decent way. Okay, so I think that's you rightly said, man. One important point I would like to add here. Now, earlier, when you do any forecasting, so what we usually do is we use time series, right? So we use time series. So when you do, there is one demand flow forecasting model. What we have time series. When you do, you take the historical data, you adopt a technology, any methodology like exponential smoothing or whatever, project it. Where alpha value, beta value, or something, you assume. Okay, but with AI, it can predict your alpha value, beta value also, and it will give you the time series, and it will give time series with all methodologies. It could be exponential smoothing, or it could be whole Swinster or whatever, and then it will give you the weighted average with the best fit. Now, there is one more trick. When you do your demand forecasting, you also can use external influences. Okay, so there are API, there are libraries available to include external influences like war and other things. Then this also will update your forecasting. So that is a big change actually. Okay, and we tested that when we do the testing and all. This model is doing very nice job, which otherwise we don't know what is happening. Okay, so World Bank uh, gives that library access to everybody, so anybody can use that. So all what we need is in the demand forecasting. When you do the pestle analysis or whatever, so you adopt that also. So when you do the demand forecasting, you adopt external variables. It will consider that also and give you the forecasting part. So that is something which is very interesting. And I think to just to conclude my presentation, the most important thing is strategy management process. The wavelength of strategy management process, monthly, quarterly, yearly, is reduced, and it could be a weekly, monthly, and quarterly. It is that you don't need it a yearly process anymore. That's my take. And we, the fruiStrategy, what exactly, when we started fruiStrategy, most of our clients, so they adopt that monthly, yearly, quarterly, yearly approach. Now everybody is going towards a weekly, a daily, weekly, and monthly, quarterly. So up to, with this approach, continuous approach, I think that is fantastic way to look at it. So I will be very happy to take up any questions. And since I am also moderator, so I don't want to take time. So I would like to quickly wrap up this in a minute. Uh, the conclusion is strategies, AI is very seriously adopted in strategy management. Okay, and there are more things which could definitely add value, but I'm not going to talk about that. My today's focus is to really give an idea that it's a continuous process rather than a periodic process. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I hope Jyoti, our next guest speaker, is available. So maybe we can start few minutes early. Okay, in case if she's available. Mhm.
Yeah, sir. Just 2 minutes. He's supposed to join us. 1 minute, sir.
Okay. So any questions on that? Otherwise, I'll just try to navigate you through something through just until you get the details. Okay. So I will just try to put few more points in the. Okay. So what fruiStrategy does is, so fruiStrategy, what it does is, it takes care do the it help you to do the strategy analysis part. So organization structure, strategy analysis, positioning, the come up with a value proposition, capability gaps, revenue gaps, and then you do the scenario planning and market segmentation. Then it will help you to do balance scorecard. So complete balance scorecard, whether it could be strategic objectives, measures, KPIs kind of thing, and organizational alignment. So in the organizational alignment, it could be corporate unit to business unit, SBU to SBU, align with the customers, everything. Okay, now when the organizational alignment, of course, it supports OKR with the full scale automation, so you can create objectives and key areas, then start measuring initiatives to close the gap. Okay, so enterprise PMO, it will help you to identify your portfolios, programs, and then manage them. The people performance is very important. So individual performance, team performance, 360-degree assessment. So weighted average of these three becomes your performance. 9 box model for current and future performance. I always use this Samsung example for the current performance and the future potential. So you shouldn't, high potential people should be definitely given chance. So okay, and then the competency management. So in the competency management, there are plenty of things like you define competencies, you create roles, trainings, and other things, and then succession planning. So you can also do the succession planning. So the business process excellence. So business process excellence will help you to identify the business processes, prioritize them. So what methodology should be applied? Okay. So what methodology should be applied for your business processes? It could be lean, it could be Six Sigma, whatever. And then how you adopt. Okay. So you can also do the value stream mapping. You get the performance reporting for the KPIs and process KPIs, not the product. Okay. So and then you have a process matrix. So you can do how this business process, maybe for example, when you talk about, so you can generate the matrix, how these business processes are aligned to the strategic objectives, and then you can know how this is done, kind of thing. Then you have a risk and compliances, so you can manage your risks and compliances in the organization. So you have a budgeting process. This is very important. So budgeting process almost always does not align with your strategy for many reasons. Now because of the introduction of AI, this is really becoming a very interesting and very easy job. So you can have your operational expenses, capital expenses, and strategic expenses, and then projected financial statements. Okay. So organizational assessments, this is very important. So how do you assess your organization? For ESG strategy focused organizations, or organizational health index, or cultural readiness index. So I'll just take it one. So when you talk about organizational health index, so you can just give your, for example, uh, I don't know, let me see if I have a data. Okay. So when you have something, so you can identify what are the key things for your organization. Okay. And then you can identify them. So those who do that, so you can identify and then see the whole organizational performance, what is going on. Like capability readiness index, you can do that. Okay. So there is Office of Strategy Management. So this is a AI is one this is the area where AI will bring a lot of value. Okay, so when you do the strategy execution, like performance management kind of thing, it's almost always a challenge that somebody needs to do the preparation. Okay, that preparation part can be automated very easily. I'll just show you something here. So you have, for example, for this business unit and scorecard, so you have all measures, so many measures. Okay, so many measures. So now how people are notified to update their KPIs directly, you can generate from here. They send message, a notification, they update the data, you make sure that you check and then resend it and then close. Now all these things will be replaced by OSM agent, but the engine remains same. The engine remains same, but the agent will do the miracles. Okay, so agent will do the whole process and identify the exceptions and then notify to the administrators or the relevant people to take actions. So this is the change what is going on. Likewise, likewise, so you have many other things like okay, so in the performance reporting wise, so you have scores, organizational scores. So when we talk about organizational scores, it is completely different. Okay, so when you have something, okay, so when you have something, you can see that. Okay, so this is the scorecard. There is a weightages. Okay, so you can see the full weightages of the score, like so this score 79% shows up for the whole business unit. Okay, so how this 79% came, we have a breakup for this. So this is how it is done. Okay, I think that's the main idea. I would like to stop screen share and then look forward. Yeah, I think I'm done for today's presentation. Okay, so please share your comments or any questions or any other things.